Head on, Bears fans. Another edition of the Chicago Bears podcast coming your way. Pat the designer, Courtney Cronin in the building. We got a lot to get into today because, Courtney, football is actually back. First game tonight. Very excited about that. We got two games today and tomorrow, and then the Bears play on Monday night versus the Minnesota Vikings. And we got a preview that Minnesota Vikings game, and we're going to have a special guest on with us to do that today. Served as the color commentator since 2007 for the Vikings radio network and the Eye in the Sky YouTube channel, which is absolutely exploding. Pete Bercich is going to join the show with us today, so stay tapped in with us for that. Hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. Today's episode is brought to you by the Advantage Dealer Group. Find your next Chevy, Toyota, or Acura and drive off another 60 minutes so they'll make your first car payment. Also brought to you by the Hard Rock Casino in Northern Indiana. Las Vegas style game in just 30 minutes from Soldier Field, exit 6, right off of I-80, 94. Without further ado, Courtney, we got to welcome in our special guest here because, listen, not only is he a Notre Dame alum here, which when he hit me up the first time, I was like, my dad definitely, I know exactly who you are. So it's amazing to hear from you. And a Chicagoland native, but spent a lot of time with the Vikings. And I believe over the last 30 years, it's been with the Vikings here. Pete Bercich, welcome into the show. Pete, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. I mean, I gotta send a thank you to the schedule makers with the NFL for doing this, because I look forward to this game more so than any other road game, just because you get to go back home, so to speak, and deal with you guys and all the people I know in Chicago. And I mean, and our quarterbacks from LaGrange Park. I mean, the whole thing. It's just the whole thing is insane. I do want to take a second though to thank both you, Courtney, and Pat. Courtney, I've known you for a long time. You've always been great. I'm just some former athlete who's trying to make his way into media, and you've always been great to me. And Pat, I reached out to you for help with some things when I was first starting to thinking about expanding into doing things outside of just the Vikings Entertainment Network. And you were, I mean, you don't expect people to answer these days, right? You send a message and you're like, oh, there it goes. It's in the void. Yeah. And Pat, you've helped me out all along the way. So both you guys, thank you very much. It means I want people to know that's who you two are. And that's why your show is going to be ultimately unbelievably successful, I think, too.
Thanks, Pete. We appreciate that.
You're welcome. Yeah, no, I mean that. It's like it's in this day and age, man. It's hard. Well, you guys know how it is.
Yeah.
You try to reach out to someone, get connected, and it just goes away into the void. I mean, you never hear anything back. But so for both you guys, I mean, I'm excited to be on this show for so many reasons, but that's the main one, because you guys have always been so good to me and everybody else.
Well, thank you so much for that, Pete. It really means the world. And I'm glad to see you having the success in the YouTube space right off the bat. Let's start it off there, because a video that you just had blowing up when we're talking about Ben Johnson versus the Vikings, the Chicago Bears versus the Vikings. I love how you broke down those two distinctions. The Vikings have had the Bears number over the last couple of years, but they have not per se had Ben Johnson's number. How much of an impact is Ben Johnson going to make in this game with Caleb Williams under center and all the different things that he's added in this matchup? How different do you think this is going to look?
Quite a bit. And I think the one thing to watch is not necessarily the scheme per se, but how Caleb Williams goes about his business and paying attention to the little things, the fundamentals. So we have up in Minnesota what people refer to as a quarterback guru, right? And Kevin O'Connell, coach of the year last year, and you've seen what he's been able to do, with the guys that have been brought in, Josh Dobbs, right? Sam Darnold. Yeah. We were in the exact same boat a year ago on opening day when we played the Giants, because we had no idea what we were going to get out of Sam Darnold. We have no idea what we're going to get out of JJ McCarthy. But when you listen to Kevin O'Connell talk about playing the quarterback position, he's I think hyper focused on fundamentals. And I know this from being a coach in the NFL that as you get into the season, you stop worrying about footwork and fundamentals because after 10 weeks, it gets boring, right? You go through the footwork drills every day. It's boring. You want to know where to be and when to be there. But his attention to detail on fundamentals is what's important. And I think that's kind of the thing for Caleb. And I think Ben Johnson also brings the credibility. He swings a big enough hammer because at some point in the season, it's going to be Caleb thinks one thing and Ben sees it another way. Who's going to win that argument? Is Caleb going to look at him and say, okay, coach, you got it. I'll do what you say to do. I have faith in you that what you're telling me is going to make me a better football player, because ultimately that is the key. Those guys have to believe what you're telling them is going to make them better on the field. And I think Ben Johnson has enough of that credibility to do so. And that's the key. I mean, they brought him in to develop Caleb Williams, right? He's a generational talent at quarterback. He can, as far as the physical attributes go, he's unbelievable. He has to put all the rest of it together. I think Ben's that kind of guy. He ran a very good offense for a very long time, and that matters too, because defenses can figure you out. Defenses haven't figured him out, and that's kind of what got me into thinking about Brian Flores and how how different he's performed. The defense has performed against Ben Johnson, and then conversely against the Bears. And so you're like, "Ooh, here's something cool. Let's see who's going to win this one out. What have the Lions done? Is it the scheme, or is it the players?" And the answer is never one or the other. The reality is always somewhere in between. So that's where the film comes in, and you go, "Okay, well, this is what Ben Johnson does, and he did so well." But hey, Jahmyr Gibbs is the guy carrying the ball. Can DeAndre Swift do it? Huh? Their offensive line, Frank Ragnow, pushing our nose tackle 5 yards down the field on a cutback. Can the Bears do that? Right. And so those are the questions that matter going into the game. And I just enjoy doing that every single week. And my channel and what I've done on video is kind of just a summary of all that. It's the process that you do every single week to watch games and be able to watch them kind of in a different way instead of just following the football. You've got other things on the side, matchups and scheme and offensive formations and all those things that you can watch.
I know that first game, week 7 last year, Vikings Lions, was a close one. I mean, it's probably one of the best games of the season, 31-29. And then last week of the season, the Lions hang 31 on a Minnesota team that looked like it got scared by a ghost. I mean, I don't know what version that was, but like
Courtney, to your point though, it was still 10-9 with 2 minutes and 30 some seconds left to go in the third quarter. And we had missed every single opportunity possible offensively. So you just remember the blowout. You remember the shock and the walking away going, "Oh my God, we just got murdered." And you're thinking, well, the reality is kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
They were in it, but I'm sorry.
No, it's a great point because we were all stunned because of obviously what that did to the seeding order for the playoffs, everything else. But when you broke down the film of those games, and we've talked about, does Ben Johnson have Brian Flores' number? What are you seeing? Are there like specific things? I know that they're really good at play action. That has like been the bread and butter of those Detroit offenses. Is that how they're able to be as explosive as they have been against a team that pressures as much? Like, what are the one or two things that you notice about a Ben Johnson way to attack a Brian Flores' defense that stand out?
Right. So you look at the big plays, and it's not, again, you're not exposing weaknesses per se in Flores' system. You're just saying how has Detroit been successful? Well, the drop back passing game hasn't really netted them a ton of yards, right? There wasn't play after play after play after play of drop back passing with certain routes that got us. It was after you go through the film, you go, wow, the play action passing game is really where the Vikings fell short. And what is the play action passing game? Well, it's only going to be as good as your running game is. Okay. Your running game has to be explosive. It has to be good because then the defenders want to honor. And Ben Johnson does a great job with throwing in. He used to throw in Skipper. I think Dan Skipper's with you guys now, right?
No, he's
I'm sorry. Yeah, he's somewhere down south. but he'll throw that extra offensive lineman in, right?
They've been doing that in training camp practices.
Exactly. Run. Okay, they got extra, and then all of a sudden, boom, he runs a play action pass, and not just a move the chains style play action pass. He's getting 15, 20 yards down the field. So that is how he was so successful against the Vikings. That and handing the ball off to Jahmyr Gibbs with two backs in the backfield. Vikings gave up 12 rushing touchdowns last year, 5 to Jahmyr Gibbs. 3 of those 5 were with 2 tight ends and 2 backs when one of the tight ends is a fullback in the backfield. That's old school. That's high school football. That's just ISO left, ISO right, split belly, and away we go. But you give Gibbs enough room, he's going to turn what should be a first down into a touchdown. You see what I'm saying? So that's the difference. So he could call those plays, but will it work as well? And that's the balance that you try to figure out while watching this. But every good offensive coordinator or coach will tweak what they do to match the abilities of their players. So there might be more drop back passing game now. I think with the receivers you guys have, with Caleb Williams being comfortable in a gun, you might see a little bit more of that. And Detroit historically has been so good run after the catch, but it's not because their receivers run better than the rest of the receivers in the NFL. It's just the ball gets to them quicker. It gets to them on time, so they have time to make a move and make a guy miss. That is that speed, right? You talk about Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson and their relationship. It's, hey, you read it, you see it, you throw that football. It might be a 2-yard pass, but that receiver is going to catch the ball a fraction of a second quicker, and he's going to be able to make a move and make the first guy miss and then remove the chain. So it's not a quantum leap from being okay to really good. Yeah. It's just the little things. It's a million little things that you have to do. How many of those have they mastered? I don't know. I can't wait to see again Monday night. These are all the questions.
I love that my husband's so handy. He leaves more money for the important stuff. Whoa. Gosh darn it, Steve.
Oh, don't be like Steve. Call Avondale Roofing. DIY is for Pinterest, not your roof.
There's a ton of questions in this game, of course, with Caleb Williams on our side, but the reports out of camp have been so mixed on JJ McCarthy. I swear one day he's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and the next day I can't believe this guy's ever dropped back and thrown a football in his life. Like, it's all over the place. You're up there. What is your expectation? Of course, him being a rookie, right? I would expect that Brian Flores is still going to lean on the run game more, but I'm sure you've laid eyes on him. What have you seen out of JJ McCarthy? Does he look like he's starting to understand kind of what Kevin O'Connell is wanting him to do, and that he is an NFL-ready quarterback right now?
Well, he better be. I think the year off last year with the injury might be a blessing in disguise, where he may not, because he didn't play last year, he might be a little bit behind where he would be right now. But I think maybe 6, 8, 10 weeks into this, he might be better off because he's had the ability to learn the language, learn kind of and see how this thing works. I think the only time I've really seen him get himself in trouble are the off schedule type plays. Mm-hmm. And Coach O'Connell has talked about this in the media, saying if he reads 1, 2, 3 and it's not there, you want to scramble, you want to extend the play. It's about once he gets on the move, resetting everything, resetting his feet, resetting his eyes, doing all of that. Or being, I think the other thing was being just too quick to read. Boom, 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 not letting things kind of develop. So patience is going to be big for him. He can't force things, but you can't be too patient. And it's such a fine line, right? Between being overly aggressive and having the proper amount of patience. The best thing that I think the Bears can do is just interrupt all that stuff. He struggled quite a bit. McCarthy struggled quite a bit when the pads came on early on in camp. Mm-hmm. Why? Because timing gets changed. And when you don't have pads on, it's running against air. You've been doing it all summer. Now all of a sudden the DBs can jam a little bit. You can do some things to change the timing, right, of the passing. And that took, I think, him a while to get used to. So anything the Bears can do, I think, to disrupt the timing of the offense and what they're trying to do will help. he's also not going to see the coverages you see on film because you have Justin Jefferson. I remember Brian Billick back in the day when we had Randy Moss. He's like, we're going to quit watching film because we never see the coverages that teams play the 2-3 weeks prior because of Randy. He changes things. And I think JJ does that a little bit as well. So seeing things new every single week, he's going to have to get used to that. Seeing things that they haven't seen on film. But again, I always go back to what Coach O'Connell says. He's like, it's not if he steps back and looks at this and says, oh my God, I'm going back home where I saw my first NFL game back in 2007 and I got this many family members and all, it's too big. You've got to say what's important right now on this. How do we win this play? How do I run, set my feet? How do I move on no matter what happens, good, bad, or indifferent? The thousands of mini battles that he's going to have to fight throughout the day. And then at the end, you see what happens. Mm-hmm. So mentally, that's the side you do it. I think the kid mentally has everything you need. He wants to win. The player, the veterans believe in him. I mean, he was elected captain, for God's sake. And that's, I think, speaks a lot for who he's a genuine person, which hopefully the guys around him rally, because you need that, right? Yeah. I mean, like, you look at Jim McMahon. I mean, you look at Jim McMahon. We had Brett Favre. I mean, PA and I sat in the back of a bus one time on the way to a game with Favre, and in 20 minutes, you get off the bus thinking, "My God, he's your best friend," right? You just love. There's just something about him, right? Jim Kelly, met him a couple years ago, and I'm standing there with Randall McDaniel, other really good football players, and we weren't talking. We just let him go. And there's that part of being a leader and being a quarterback that I think is a bit underrated in this day and age. You got to have a special person back there. So I think he has that, in that regard, but we'll see. I mean, it all comes down to what you do on game day. And, I'm tired of talking about it. I mean, we just got to get out there and play this thing, for God's sake,
Yeah.
Like, holy cow.
Well, when we look at this quarterback matchup, I mean, it almost feels like it's more on level playing field because each one has something that they're dealing with. Caleb Williams his something is learning a brand new offense. JJ McCarthy's is, I missed a whole season. Like, I've already been in this offense effectively, all last year learning behind the scenes, but I haven't played. Caleb has not been in this offense, but he's played. So all of that aside, you're looking at a quarterback matchup between two young quarterbacks who have a lot to prove. And the story around Caleb this offseason and in training camp has been all of the pre-snap procedural stuff that he just doesn't have down quite yet. When you've seen JJ in practice and you see how much he's tasked with pre-snap, whether it's shifts, motions, cadence, all of those things, how is he at handling all of that stuff that's probably very different from the last time he was playing a full season of football at Michigan 2 years ago?
He's been very good with all of that. Now, part of that is the demands that a Ben Johnson offense has as far as formation, shift, and motion. Because in the past, you look at the Lions, they shifted, motioned on almost every single play, unless they're quick snapping the ball. But there's always people moving, right? They always are shifting guys around to try to get the defense to tip their cap, to not let defenders. Final formation is what matters. So if you just line up in something and run it, the defense can figure you out. But if you motion to that same formation, there are so many adjustments and things, and that's a way to trick. Guys on defense aren't that smart. So when you just move guys around, all of a sudden you lose track of what you're supposed to be seeing. The Vikings do a lot less of that. So I don't think there's that much for him to necessarily master. It's not a cornerstone of the Viking offense as much as of what I've seen with Ben Johnson's offense. So my point is, I think he's managing that well, just getting people in and out, running the system, not making mistakes when the call's radioed in, right? That's a big thing too. But everything I've heard, he's been doing very, very well with that. Procedurally, in practice, everything's run smoothly. That's an underrated big deal. Not blowing the whistle and running guys on and off and all that. It's been a smooth operation, so that's good.
When you look at this game on Monday coming up here, and we got Pete Bercich joining us, is there something that you feel like the Bears can bring that is concerning to you right now versus the Vikings? Is there something that Ben Johnson can bring with the current personnel that you're like, that's something we're going to have to watch out for, or it's going to kill us in this game? Or is this just a situation of everything is new, it truly is just wait and see?
Yeah, that's a tough one to nail down, only because we don't know exactly what you're going up against, but you guys do have a lot of talent and at the wide receiver position. You have a couple of different guys that can break a game open. Your tight ends, a tight end is a tricky position because you have to be able, the better you can block, I think the more it helps you in receiving. And with Colston, with Komet and then Loveland, I think you have two kind of special players there, and you're going to be able to do a lot of different things and get them involved. And we talked about the play action game earlier.
Yeah,
the tight ends, man, that's what that's all about. But their ability to block is going to be key. So it's not like you're worried the tight end's going to break the game open per se, but they can be so involved and so hard to cover and do so many different things and moving those guys around and creating matchups. I mean, Loveland's 6'5", right? All you gotta do is get him in space against, Josh Metellus, and now all of a sudden you've got you got a half a foot advantage. With the reach, it's probably longer than that. So coaches spend all this time trying to do create mismatches, and all you got to do is take that guy, flex him out, and put him against a DB, and there's your mismatch right there. That's why he was a first-round draft pick, because he's a walking mismatch. So that position, they're going to have their hands full blocking Jonathan Grenard and Van Ginkel, because they're good. They're really good.
Oh, yeah.
But those guys in the passing game, and then what Caleb can do with his feet and what he can do off schedule. If we can get him in third and long and then bring in a Dallas Turner, you can bring in some more athletes. I'm less concerned about the scrambling and all that. But if you're efficient on first and second down, and we're talking 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, if you blitz, you better get there. And if Caleb can make things happen with his feet off schedule, those are the things I think that concern me the most with him.
So he talked about, all things considered, last season, the game that goes to overtime in early November, obviously they faced him in Minneapolis after that, and it was another loss for the Bears. But the first game, it was about a week into the offensive coordinator switch. Caleb performed pretty decently because there was an emphasis on getting the ball out of his hands against that blitz. And he talked yesterday, having the institutional knowledge now of going against a Flores defense. There's a wrinkle you have to find out. And it might take a whole quarter, it might take 2 quarters to figure out what that is, but trying to stay within the fundamentals of your offense so you don't get negative plays, so you're not off the field. And he mentioned cadence, because I know this is something like the best quarterbacks in the history of playing this game have used the cadence as a weapon, especially against the blitz. And I think about Aaron Rodgers doing it all these years because of how effective he was with the hard count. But I'm trying to find a way to explain this the right way, because when you think about what Brian Flores does, how can Caleb effectively use the cadence to beat the blitz? Because won't it have to be that they're blitzing from a standing up position because of all the motion, the shift, and having to see where the offense gets set?
Yeah.
I feel like maybe it's a little disingenuous that a young quarterback thinks he has a weapon like that is that attainable right now against a defense like this. But he's made it very clear that that's something he really has relied on in camp and wants to continue to utilize.
Yeah, I think getting the defense to jump off sides and then the quick count, mixing in the quick count, that's part of the story. Okay, the being able to master the cadence is. And then tie that into shifting and motioning, all that together. As long as he knows what he's seeing or what he should be looking for, that could be a huge advantage, because defenders want to hold a disguise, make it look like something, and then play something else. But sometimes defenders will abandon their post or abandon their responsibility for the sake of disguise. and you go ahead and let a cadence drag out, or you make it sound like you're going to snap the ball and you don't, you might see, if you're looking in the right spot and you know, again, what to look for, you might see one of the DBs or somebody tip their cap to say, okay, all right, well, I'm getting this. That's where Mahomes is so dang good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Patrick Mahomes, once the ball snapped, yeah, he's good. But before the snap, holy cow, he knows exactly what to look for and how to look for it. And so for Caleb, it's an area of growth. But Courtney, to your point, if you know exactly where to look and how to get those guys to kind of tip the cap and be exact, right? Be exact. When I'm getting a base type coverage, this linebacker is always head up on the guard in this formation, and this guy's always head up on the guard. And then all of a sudden, one of them's off half a man. You're like, okay, that's something. You know, I mean, it's a little thing, but those details, if he can process those, and the more comfortable he gets with the offense, the less he has to think about the procedure itself, and he can, turn his focus to what he's seeing on the other side of the ball. That's the growth that you should hopefully see out of him throughout the year. And again, I think Ben Johnson has the depth as a coordinator to do that, to teach him those things. It's just a matter of Caleb saying, yes, I'm fully going to commit myself to learning your system, the way you want it to be done. And if that happens, it's going to be successful, right? That's my opinion, seeing how good of an athlete Caleb is. And then on the other side, if I got to sit and thank God, if I have to sit in Detroit in that booth way at the top up in the rafters and see my team lose again, I'm going to get sick. It's just that we've struggled so mightily against that team. The nightmare for us would be, you got an athlete like Caleb with a guy like Ben Johnson teaching him what to do and all those other things. You're like, my God, this could be an absolute nightmare. Will it be? I don't know. We'll see.
You talk about being up in the rafters at Detroit. They got you way up there. They got you way in the sky.
If you go to Ford Field, is an awesome place to be.
Yeah.
If you look at where the Lions bench is, there's a row of bleachers, and then there's about 7 stories of boxes, and then on top of that, I think there's all the ovens and all that, and then 2 stories on top of that is where we are up in the corner, and you can't see a damn thing from up.
And then you look up in heavens right there, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's
with that being said, though, right? Like looking at Detroit, looking at the big picture of this division, Ben Johnson now being in Chicago. Are you confident in the Vikings repeating what they were able to do last season? Of course, win total, maybe not, but just being one of the dominant teams in the division. I feel like this Vikings team has one of the best rosters in football, not just in the division, but the big question is the quarterback right now.
Yeah.
Do you feel like coming into this season, you can still be as confident and say, Kevin O'Connell knows what he's doing. He's going to find a way to get it done. I thought Brian Flores within the division, while he did have a lot of success still, it felt like by the end of the season, teams were starting to figure him out a little bit more. Do you think the Vikings will still maintain that hold that they had on play last season?
If we can continue to win close games, that's kind of been another thing that Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings team is, in 1-score games, they've played very, very well.
It's insane, actually.
I guess I look at it this way and say, for some reason, we've had 2 seasons where we've had 12 or 13 regular season wins, 14, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And yet both those seasons we really underperformed in the playoff game, once at home against the Giants, and then the second one was in Arizona against the Rams. So I don't know if the focus has changed, but just what is it between the regular season success and then carrying that momentum into the postseason? It just So personally, and this is my opinion, as long as we're good enough to get into the playoffs, but then find a way to win a wild card game or something like that, that would be, in my opinion, a complete win. But then you have to step back and say, okay, we have a young quarterback. You can't expect success early.
Right.
It's going to be a bumpy road. And so you just look ahead and say, all right, November into December, you want to have some momentum. And the last couple of years with all the regular season success, our momentum has been, early in finding ways to win games. And you just, I guess my hope is that come December, this team is really finding its groove. And I think that'll prove to be more valuable into January for this team. And yeah, with the quarterback's just too big of a variable, Pat. You know what I mean? You just don't know.
It's a massive one, yeah.
It's the most important and most difficult position in all pro sports. And so if McCarthy comes out of the gate firing, yeah, we could absolutely repeat that. But with him being young, it's going to depend on our running game. I think Jordan Mason might be the guy that really shows up for our offense on Monday night. And I've never seen it out of Coach O'Connell yet, but maybe we'll just hand the ball off enough. If we can hand the ball off and win, maybe they'll do that. And then defensively, how are they going to play? Jonathan Allen. I love Javon Hargrave. I think he's a really good football player. I think he's going to be a big plus in the middle. So how that front plays, we're young in the back end. I mean, we don't have a ton of experience with corners and DBs, but our DBs don't, track guys and jam them at the line of scrimmage and play shutdown football. The versatility is what matters in Flores defense. You play corner, but sometimes you're going to drop as a safety. You play linebacker, but sometimes you're going to drop out in the flat when we're playing Tampa 2, and you're really playing a corner position in the scheme. That's the eggshell game that he plays with quarterbacks. You don't know what guy is taking what void and what zone and when they line up. So I'm not as concerned about that group per se. It's just too hard to tell.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard to win in this league, man. It's hard to win and win 14 games. Man, a lot of things have to go your way. So, staying healthy is probably the biggest thing with all of this. But I would think a wild card type scenario would be realistic.
You mentioned that secondary, and one injury for like a personal reason that we're checking in on is Harrison Smith. I know he's been in and out. Personal illness, I believe, is how they were phrasing it. But
he's sick of football.
How big of a loss would that be if he doesn't play Monday?
Big. From a leadership standpoint, knowing the scheme, knowing the defense, and knowing that you're going against still a young quarterback with a new scheme, that would make me think that the more we can handle from a game plan standpoint defensively, the better that's going to be for us. Throw the kitchen sink at this kid proverbially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just make him have to think. Make him have to think on every single snap. Harrison Smith is huge in that regard because of his versatility. When he lines up and walks down on the line of scrimmage, you can't just ignore him and say, okay, that guy's a decoy, because he blitzes. He can, that's the most underrated part of Harrison Smith is he can do everything. He can cover, he's good with the interceptions. He can cover ground. He can tackle, but he can blitz. It's like that. That's what Flores needs out of his players, right? Alex Van Ginkel can do a million different things. He can run defensive line stunts and then cover a tight end man-to-man. Aren't many guys that can do that. Flores loves guys like that because then he can play his games with them. So not having Harrison Smith back there to direct traffic, especially with an offense, I think with Johnson, it's going to be shifting and motioning and doing all those things constantly. That's a concern. That's a big concern. So does that mean they keep things more simple? I don't know, but I would think that a guy like Harrison Smith is exactly what you need, especially early in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's getting a little long in the tooth per se, but in early on in a game like this, who's been down this road, been through it all. I mean, I think that's it would be a big loss for the defense.
With all the additions that the Vikings made this offseason, which one do you feel like is going to be an instant impact with this?
Javon Hargrave, baby.
Yeah. That's a problem in the middle. That's a problem.
I am the biggest fan of Javon Hargrave and what he's done, especially in San Francisco and how he plays.
Yeah.
He just, Out in San Fran, they do it differently. They put those D linemen out there, and they stay out there about 60% of the time. And this guy's running to the football. He's running the screens. I mean, I'm just a huge Hargrave fan. And then Jordan Mason, I think offensively, he's a guy. Last year, yards after contact was up there. He's not gonna. He'll move the chains for you. I mean, he's not gonna get one-on-one with a safety and outrun everyone in the end zone. That's the only thing I think keeping him from being an elite running back in this league. But his vision and he's a tough dude to bring down.
Yeah.
I think in a game like this, man, if he gets rolling, he might be a big part of it. He wasn't really involved in the passing game at all in San Francisco. So he's got to pick that up. So his receiving skills yet to be seen. But if he can do that, that's where you love Aaron Jones, because you can throw him the ball, you can handle the ball, he can kind of do everything. Jordan Mason, does he have all that? We'll see. But those two guys are those are two guys I'm really looking forward to seeing play Monday night, like the shiny new toys, right? I mean, we got to revamp the offensive line, Will Fries and all that, but those are guys you watch, Tuesday on film. Because you can't see them mixed in the mix up. You can see the results. Again, if Jordan Mason's running around and doing well, then you're like, okay, well, Ryan Kelly, Will Fries, we're Donovan Jackson, the rookie. I mean, we got a rookie left guard. We got a first-year or second-year quarterback, a rookie left guard. Those that can be a problem if those guys aren't ready. But we'll see.
So with that, let's finish it out with this. What is your prediction for Monday night? Rookie quarterback, rookie left guard. Are you going to have a Vikings 1-0 start to the season, or does Ben Johnson's tenure start off 1-0?
I mean, you got to be stereotypical. It's going to be something like a 24-21 Vikings bet. Maybe a lot more field goals, more of a field goal type game. Not a lot of touchdowns, but somewhere in there, 24-21. I think that's my 2
We'll
cents.
see, Pete. I hope.
Yeah, we're gonna see.
I appreciate it, but we do appreciate you coming on the show and taking the time out of your day.
Hey, Pat, let me say this: as long as the Packers lose, I don't care about the score. That's all I care about. As long as the Packers lose, I'm happy.
This has to be like a little bit stressful for you being from here, but also spending your career with the Vikings.
Yeah, it's it's the one thing we have in common, right? It's the one thing that we can all agree upon is that. And
100%.
The Minnesota thing, I could talk for the whole Minnesota, because there's so many people that live in Wisconsin. It's not the Packer fans in Wisconsin. That's that you expect that. It's the ones that go to college and have to get a real job, and then they move to Minneapolis. But when they do, they bring all their Packer garb with them, and they're running, they got their Packer flags, and it's like, and I remember when I first showed up, I saw this. I'm driving by Green Bay Packer flags in people's front yards, and I'm thinking they would never put up with this in Chicago. I didn't know any differently. I'm like, they wouldn't put, but that's life up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. Everywhere you go, you meet somebody, you go out to business lunch or whatever, and it's like, there he is. There's the Packer fan. And of course they're just blah, blah, blah. I own the team. I have shares in the team and I know this. And you just roll your eyes back and go, if I was in Wisconsin, I would understand this, but I'm not. Go home. Go.
The zoom in from your camera when you lean back was perfect on that. I'm not gonna lie. We're gonna end it there.
You gotta have fun with it, man. It's you gotta love Lambeau. Have you been there? I mean, I'm sure you've been there. It's a great place to play. It's a great game, but back in the day, it was okay to kind of not like each other. So is that still okay these days? We just not like somebody?
Yep.
It's all healthy. It's all fun. It's all good. We're just having fun.
Keep it respectful, but
for sure.
FGB.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Thank you for coming on, Pete. Ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button, subscribe to the page, leave a 5-star review. Y'all know what to do. We'll have to have Pete back on when we get to that second game. Hopefully the Bears will be 1-0 versus the Minnesota Vikings going in that game. As always, thank you guys for tuning in and showing love. For Courtney Cronin, for Pete Bercich, it's your boy Pat the Designer, back at it again. Y'all stay safe out there, Chicago. Bed down. One love. Peace.